Hi, I'm Michelle Allen, and welcome to Belle Creations. This is a piece that I got as a custom piece from a friend of mine. This was her grandfather's. It was a bar, like a mobile bar thing. And so I started out by sanding it. Sanding it down just gives it some tooth for the paint to stick to and removes any large areas that are dirty or have like oils and grease and stuff like that. So after I sanded it down, I wiped it down with vinegar and water. And this again just removes any oils that are on the surface. Now I didn't record the next step I did, but after that dried, I put a layer of shellac clear coat over the entire thing, and that just seals in any tannins. Since this is an old piece, I didn't want them coming back up through the paint. Then I did a base coat of DIY paint in the color Mermaid Tale, and I just covered the entire piece with a thin coat. I didn't worry about covering it every inch because it was going to be distressed. And then after that, I went through and added the highlight colors that the client wanted. She wanted red and yellow highlights on a turquoise base. So I did a technique that I learned by watching Dionne Woods of the Turquoise Iris, and she has lots of YouTube videos, and I will link them below here. But this is a process that she has mastered, and it's taken me a while to get to the point where I feel like I'm about half as good as she is at it. Now, on the top of this piece, there was a place that I tried to fix with wood glue. The veneer was kind of peeling at the top. But when it dried and I put the paint on the top, the moisture from the paint had it lifting again. So there was no choice but to remove the veneer. And I did that using a heat gun. Putting a heat gun on it heats up the glue underneath and makes it easy to take off with a scraper. I mean, it takes a little bit of elbow grease, but it's not horribly hard. And there's not a lot of damage that happens to the wood underneath doing this, and anything that happened kind of lends to the character. And after that, I waxed the piece, which is my favorite part. That is where the colors really start to come alive. Because DIY is a clay-based paint, it dries very muted or dull with a real chalky finish. And the wax just brings it back to life. And actually, when the wax dries, when it goes on, sometimes it can look a little blotchy because of the depending on how porous or dry the wood is underneath. So sometimes it can look a little blotchy, but it dries with it evens out when it dries. DIY wax is the consistency of melted butter, or butter that is really soft, that's been set out for baking or something. It's a wonderful consistency. I really love it. So I went over the whole thing with clear wax, and then I went over certain areas, like in the center of the drawers and the center where that detail is on the doors on front. I used white wax for that. Favorite things ever is how wax takes it from that I definitely went a little overboard on showing the waxing process, but it definitely is my favorite part. This portion of the video is actually double timed. But I'm showing here where the blotchiness looks. You can see on the right side of the handle where it's light and dark. But on the finished product, you'll see where it really does even out and just look beautiful. So after the wax is applied, you should wait at least 24 hours. I actually ended up waiting a little longer than that just because I had things kind of pull me away from it for a little bit. So maybe I waited a couple of days. But then I just used this attachment on my drill motor to buff it out. And it just takes it, and I'm not sure it translates in the video, but it takes it from, you know, dull to a light shine, not like a high shine, but just a little bit of a satin finish, and it feels just marvelous after that too. And here's the finished product. I tried to get a couple of different angles on it, and you can see where the wax evens out. I'm really happy with it. I hope that she is too.